The next system that every Plantscape business owner should have, an installation system, because it's where your reputation is born and where your net profits live. That's next.
It's the Plantscape Business School Podcast. This is the podcast for growing not just beautiful plants, but thriving plantscape businesses. Here's your host, longtime Plantscape business owner, systems nerd, and small business innovator, Brad Miller.
Welcome to Plantscape Business School Podcast. Today, we're talking about your installation system. And you might be thinking right now, Brad, really? An installation system? That's a system that I must have? I mean, I could understand a marketing system. I can understand selling systems, but an installation system. Yes, you really need an installation system. Think a little bit broader. Think order fulfillment system. And again, as I said, it's where your reputation is born, and we'll get into that, and where your net profits live. So the whole reputation is born thing. This is the beginning of trust. You as a salesperson or somebody on your team who was the salesperson, you've been meeting with a prospect, they said yes, and they're excited about all the things that you've said. There are a lot of promises that you've made, and this is the official handoff to your team. They only have a relationship with the salesperson, but now they're going to have a relationship with everyone. And hopefully, if we do things right, it's a very, very long relationship. That's the beauty of this Plantscape industry that we're in, that we can have decades-long relationships of monthly recurring revenue. Beautiful thing. So this idea is that your installation day is theater. Again, they've improved the agreement. They're excited. They've envisioned the transformation. They've talked about it with their coworkers. And now your team shows up and you start to roll in the most beautiful tropical plants they've ever seen. And they're freaking out. We've literally had people crying when they saw how their space just transformed. They're taking pictures, they're like in groups and they're just talking about it. They're so excited, and literally people stop working. They're just so pumped because their workspace where they live for like 1/3 of their life is being transformed. And so what we want to kind of dig into is how to make installation theater, and profitable at the same time. So let's dig into your installation system. We believe that number one, you have a pre-install meeting. Sometimes it's with sales, not always if your salesperson has done all the paperwork just right, but there is a pre-install meeting, and it's where you go over the paperwork that the salesperson has created with the team. So ideally, if the salesperson could be at that meeting, that's really what you want. But that starts with, number one, a phone call to the client about the day and the time that the installation is going to be there. You might be thinking, that seems kind of like a big deal. It just happened to us 2 weeks ago. We had new construction. It was this gorgeous restaurant. We had all of these exterior potted plants, and it was a big deal. We knew that they were on a construction deadline. Someone should have called the day before, but they didn't, and we showed up and they weren't ready. So just making sure that the client knows the exact day and time that your team is coming. Again, we talk about checklist. One of the items on the checklist is the installation form. It's a separate form from the checklist. And guys, we have rebooted our installation form so many times through the years, but it's the idea of that every time we do it, we make it better, easier to understand, eliminating defects and go backs. And so that installation form that we have now, it's a thing of beauty. And you know what? We might have a better one in a couple of months, but it's a very key part of the whole installation, making sure that the design intent of sales is followed through with installation. Here's a key thing. I just said this at TPIE in January, and I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and say, wow, I never heard that before. Here it is. Your salesperson is not at the installation. What? You mean the salesperson should be out selling? Yes, so that's the idea. And if you really work on the ruthless standardization of your installation paperwork and all the checklists, your salesperson doesn't have to be there. They're not in the installation department. Let the salesperson go sell. Okay, number 2, the roles and the responsibilities are clearly defined for the installation day. On installation day, you have an install leader. It's like the director, the conductor who's out there waving the wand. This goes here, that goes there, little tweak here. You have someone who's in charge of that. At Interior Plantscapes, we do as much of our potting and messy dirt work with the staging at the greenhouse. So we're loading plants into the truck. Some of them are already staged into their decorative container, if that's possible. But the other ones are clean and they're tidy. So the last step is the staging into the decorative container. The goal is as white glove as possible. And so that is one of our goals, to make the installation beautiful without a lot of mess. A real key part of our installation process, and this is where we really lean into our lead installer, is staging for sub-irrigation. Our sub-irrigation systems are key to our success. Everything that we do is on a 2-week interval. Sometimes we can even go 3 weeks. But we have different sub-irrigation systems for different plant types and different location types. Interior versus exterior, high light versus low light, obviously plant types. That is key to making sure that your net profits are where you want, because your sub-irrigation is doing the heavy lifting. So it's that whole idea of the defined roles. And if you have defined roles, you create confidence in your team and confidence in the client. Number 3, along with that, this is kind of similar, client expectations are managed. And your client expectations are only managed if someone is communicating with the client and some of the other key influencers about what are the plants going to do, what their expectations are. And I'm kind of thinking about acclimatization. And if you can explain acclimatization to your clients, when some of the plants start to get yellow leaves in the first few days, they know, oh, you know what, they said that it was going to do that. There's an adjustment period as these plants go from really high light to lower light. And so there is a new client welcome package, and we explain acclimatization a little bit more, but they're prepared. And it's not a surprise, and you're managing expectations so that your clients aren't calling the office and go, what's going on with my plants? And so that's a key thing. Other things are the delivery timing. I already mentioned that. Just making sure that they know what day and what time the plants are coming. Asking them about staging areas. So this is really key. When your installation team shows up, they have a designated spot. In South Florida, it's a big deal that we're out of the sun. And so we try to find some kind of a covered area, someplace where we can do our work of staging out of sight. We can make a little bit of a mess if we have to, and then clean it all up. So finding that key staging area, that's really important for us. And then access. We do a ton of work with luxury high-rise condos. So there's big elevators, freight elevators. Which elevators do you want us to use? So just understanding access. Do you want us to use the service entrance? Can we use the main entrance? Having those little detail questions answered are great, because you just eliminate a lot of the chaos that doesn't really need to be chaos if you set those expectations. So again, we're thinking systems. So expectation management It's a system. You can plan for it and prepare for it. Number 4 is that our installations are consistently profitable. What I mean by that is our installations are not a profit center. It's not something that we're trying to make a ton of money on. We're just trying to cover our costs. So we have a DIP charge, delivery, installation, and preparation. And it kind of depends upon the size of the account. But again, we're not trying to make money on an installation. We're trying not to lose money. And by that I mean the more that you can do your work first time, no go backs, what we call 0 defects, the better. And we even incentivize that with our installation team. We have a bonus program for 0 defect installations. And that means no go backs because somebody forgot a plant or a 6-inch saucer or something. But just think how expensive it is to send your D&I team back because they forgot something or something has to be. Just don't think that it has to be that way, that you have to just live with go backs and defects. No, you don't. And so anything that you can do to minimize rework is huge. And again, that's where your net profits live. It goes back to checklists. Checklists are a beautiful thing, but your team has to use them. So lastly, number 5 is on our installation system is the salesperson does a follow-up walkthrough. Friend, this is powerful. The salesperson, again, they're not at the install, but of course, they're meeting with the client after the installation is complete. So they're coming back and they're doing this walkthrough to make sure that all of their promises that they made were kept and that the client is excited. We wanted to exceed expectations, right? And so it's a quality control check, making sure that they're super happy with everything. And most importantly, it's an add-on sales opportunity. And that is probably one of the most profitable sales that you will make as a salesperson or as a company. It's the add-on sale. And the reason is that it's like adding another account without all of the overhead of an additional stop. So I teach this a lot. Your add-on sale is one of your most profitable sales you'll ever make. No windshield time, no parking, no unloading, no getting water is like another account added to. And so we really work on a lot of different ways to create the strategy of an add-on sale. That walkthrough with the client, it's also an opportunity to ask for referrals. Do you have a branch office? Any other ideas about where you could do additional work? That is a key part of that last meeting. So hopefully now you understand why installation matters, and maybe it matters now more than you think. But it's that idea that the installation is setting the tone for this relationship. And you're giving your new customer confidence that you can work together for years and years and years. And so your installation, friend, it can be a system. If you will focus on these things, just real quick, your checklists, make sure that you have a robust checklist and that your people are using it. Loading, unloading, tools, equipment, everything that you could imagine. That pre-install meeting, key. The install team is all on board and they are working from a common playbook. The introduction to the new client. Our salespeople, they make sure that the installation team knows who the key contact is, because the installation team, the first thing they do when they get there is they go in and they introduce themselves to that key contact. And then after the installation is done, the lead installer, they do a walkthrough with that key contact. So that's huge. Again, I want to emphasize the staging of the plants into the decorative containers. Huge. And then I've already covered the final walkthrough. But if you will think about your installation, that it can be this ruthless standardization of a system, it'll be a game changer. Because again, it's where your reputation is born and it's where your net profits live. See you next week on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Plantscape Business School podcast. If today's episode helped you think differently about your Plantscape business, share it with a fellow owner and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. For tools, training, and resources to help you build a business that really works, visit PlantscapeBusinessSchool.com. Plantscape Business School. Uncomplicate your business and expand your life.